Alright, so here in part 2 I'm going to pick up right where we left off with objective number 2. And this one wants us to create a standard access list. This time it's telling us what type of access list we want that only allows telnet access to R1 from the network 1. So this router right here, the only telnet access to this router is going to be from these guys right here. So before we get into it, let's just do a test. We'll make sure we can get there now. So 192.168.1.1, and there we go. I can get in, so I can telnet from PC1. Let me go ahead and end that session. Let's try and telnet from here, PC2. So we'll go telnet 168.1.1. You know what? That's not going to work because that ACL we created up here. This is good. This is good that we can work through. Because if you were doing this, you might want, why is it not? Remember, that access we created up here denies everything on network 1 coming from PC2. So, yeah, that's not going to work. So, what we're going to have to do if we want to telnet to this router is go to his other interface, which is 10.0.0.1. So, telnet 10.0.0.1. And there we go. Alright, so we know it works. As of now, we want to be able to fix that so that PC2 can get there. Okay, so the functionality of this access list really is going to be in where we place it to deny that. So what we want to do is we know it's got to be on R1 because remember a standard is going to be as close to the destination as possible. So let's get in here and let me make sure there's nothing on here. Okay, so let's do it. Remember in part 1 I talked about a name and a numbered. I did the numbered in part 1. I'm going to do the name this time. So start out with IP. We'll kind of get you started there. And then IP access list, you're going to actually write in here whether it's standard or extended instead of just picking the number. And then you're going to give it either from here a number or a name. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say no telnet. Alright, and then I hit enter. Now you notice how my prompt changed here. Now I'm in standard knuckle mode. So you can see how the prompt changed. So everything I do here is configuring lines for that access list. So the first line I want is permit, and we can only permit on the source. So that's going to be our next thing. We don't have a choice of protocol here, just the address. So I want to permit 192.168.1.0, and my wildcard bits are going to be 0.0.255. Alright, and then I want to deny any. Alright, and I don't have a log feature in Packet Tracer, but that's the reason that I put in this deny. I don't have to, remember, because the last lines always deny everything else. But I put it in here because on a real router I would put log underneath it, or after it, excuse me, and be able to see when my packets are getting denied. It's not going to tell you when the implicit deny catches something, so you had to put in that statement yourself. So that's why I do that. Okay, so that's it. Let's do a show access list, and we see the list no telnet is permitting this network and then denying everything else. So let's place it now with our telnet and SSH lines. We're not gonna place them on interfaces. We're gonna place them on the virtual interfaces that are inside the router, the VTY lines. So what I will do is go to get out of there. Line VTY on a router would do 04. Remember on a switch it's 015. So I'll do line VTY 04. And in objective 1 on an interface we did IP access group. Here, we're going to do IP access class. Alright, that's the command, and then we'll put in the name. So it was no telnet, and that's going to be connections coming to the router, so inbound. Alright, so there we go. We've applied it. So let's test to make sure that we did our job here. So we should be able to telnet from here, right? Because we're on that network that we permitted, the first line. So let's make sure that works. Yep. All right. We're good. So let's exit out of there. Now let's try to do it from here. Telnet 10.0.0.1. Remember, I was able to do it before. See up here? Oh, I got there before. Let's see. Hopefully this gets denied. And it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Okay. Well, this is good. We can work through this. Do a little troubleshooting. See why it is. Let's get on here and do a show access list. Permit that, deny any. Right. Because I put in IP, it assumed I meant IP version 6. You see there's no other IP here. So when I did that, which is what I usually do with when I'm creating an access list on an interface, I'll do IP access group, remember. But here when I pressed IP, based on the options that I'm given here, the only thing that could have meant was IPv6, so that's what they assumed that I meant, which won't apply for what I'm telnetting with, IP version 4. So let's just do access class. We'll do the name again. No telnet and inbound. Alright, that should fix it. Again, we can verify that by looking at our running configuration here. We see line VTY. I can take this out. There we go. So again, look at our line VTY 0 space 4. There we go. We have the access class, no telnet in. So now it should not work. And there we go. Right away we see connection refused. So there's a good lesson. Definitely want to test it out at the end. Sometimes silly mistakes like that can get you on the exam. And it's good if you work through it to be able to see where your mistakes were. So there we go. We've got the standard access list. It allows telnet access from here, but denies it from anywhere else. Not just from this network, but also here. I wouldn't be able to telnet from here. There we go. It's not that it doesn't have a way to get there. You can tell by that error message right there that that's an access list that's dropping it. Okay. So in the next video we will work to objective number 3.